How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, we're going to give you 3 reasons why management has got to listen to the front line. Now, guys, there's way more than 3 reasons out there. Having said that, we're going to provide 3 that we feel can at least start the dialogue. And I think these are 3 reasons that usually get overlooked. So this dialogue is for management. If you're out there and you're not listening to the front line, these are 3 things that you're missing out on. I'm going to have Russ Hamilton. We're going to share in this discussion. But real quick, I got 3 sponsors. First, we have American Military University. If you guys are looking for higher education and you're looking to get that degree, guys, you got to check out American Military University. It's a great school, very supportive of what we do in corrections and very supportive of what we do here on Tier Talk. So, guys, if you get a chance, please check out American Military University. We also have Guardian RFID. From inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence, Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. And we also have Shea USA. Shea USA is the world's leading weapon, cell phone, and contraband detection system manufacturer for corrections. For more information, contact Joe Vasquez at 440-561-7615. He's a subject matter expert. He's passionate about our industry, and he will take good care of you. And guys, don't forget, Inmate Manipulation Decoded is available. It is available on Amazon. Link is in the description. And good news, my other book, the kind of like a daily reader, but it's really not. It's about 100 and something tips, maybe 159 or 160 tips that I think will apply to the corrections profession. That is actually in the hands of the publisher. Obviously, we're going to go back and do some edits, but we're probably looking at that book coming out within the next few months, which I'm pretty excited for. I think it's going to be a great book. I think I'm going to make it hardcover, I believe. But again, we're not at that point yet. But I am excited for it. Now, let me bring on Russ. Russ, what's going on, man? Good to see you again.
Anthony, it's good to be here.
Hey, Russ, you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Of course not. My name is Russ Hamilton, and I am a former and retired sergeant with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I have also worked in the juvenile justice field as a senior correctional officer. I currently work for a private company that does reentry and rehabilitation. Momentary slip on the old clutch there, and we do that for a probation department and a local jail.
Russ, I don't know if you had that little moment of lapse, or maybe you just felt so uncomfortable saying reentry.
No, not at all. I can get up and talk about the need for both.
All right, good. It's just great to see Russ has kind of crossed over to the other side. Hey, Russ, so today's topic is management must listen to their front line. Obviously, it's a good and needed topic. I mean, when it comes to management listening to front line, we're talking about really increasing employee morale. I believe that front line does have a voice. They need to be heard. But having said that, I want people to understand too, this dialogue really isn't one way. Like, yes, we're saying that management needs to listen to front line, but it's really about building a relationship, which means that's, we have front line, you have to listen to management too, but in this sense here, we're going to focus on why management needs to listen to front line. So if you're a positional leader, and that means you lead by position and not by like relationships with people, you need to listen to this, because this is literally about relationships with people, why you need to listen to the people that are doing the job. So first thing that Russ thought of real quick, and guys, there's many here. We're just going to do 3. But we got trust. Russ, what is that? Rust and trust. Rust and trust.
Rust
hey, Russ,
and trust.
What is it about trust?
Okay, so if you're in one of those leadership by position, for position type of things, you should know that without communication and without dialogue back and forth, that you can't accomplish your mission. Your mission, you have three primary missions, no matter where you're at in a Department of Corrections. The first of which is public safety. Public safety is number one. It goes before our own personal safety. That is the mission that we are assigned to. The second is staff safety, right? Making sure that all of our staff members are safe. And third, but not necessarily least, is inmate safety. Those are the three things that we have to deal with. How can you accomplish any of your mission if we down there on the bottom line don't trust you to bring us in to the table and to be able to listen to what we have to say and take that advice? You may not be able to do everything that we want, but certainly you have a responsibility and you have a duty to know that we're the experts down there on the line, and that what we tell you is going to impact safety and security. So if you just disregard that, you're disregarding public safety, staff safety, and inmate safety all at the same time.
Yeah, and also, guys, so when I started doing the show Tier Talk, it was about our voices being heard. And I think trust comes from that communication side. If I'm talking to you, are you actually listening to what I have to say, actively listening? And I think when it comes to that level of communication and you are listening to that front line, you're also telling front line, it's kind of runs parallel to what Russ is saying, is that you have value. If you stop listening to your front line, if you stop listening to their concerns, well, then they're going to stop bringing those concerns up. Yes, of course. But also they're going to feel that they don't have value. And in this profession, if you want your staff to really be effective at this job, and this job isn't for everyone, guys. I mean, this job is a risk every day. Then they need to feel that they have value. They need to feel that the work they do matters. And if they're not able to communicate with you and they don't trust that you see them in that light, well, the problem is, guys, is that you wind up losing on their ability to be the most effective. Because most of the time, guys, when people do the job, it may sound weird, but they're not really doing it for the agency. They're doing it for you. They relate to the people that are in those higher positions. I've worked with a lot of people that literally said, "Hey, Gangi, I'll do this for you," because you're just that kind of person. And it meant a lot to me. And it wasn't like an obligation type thing. It was just they would see what you would do for them. You would build some level of trust with them by listening to them and then making the effort to get their voice out there. And then in return, they would actually feel obligated to you because you're making the effort. And that's the key too, guys, effort over outcome. So if they see you making the effort, bringing up their concerns, then in return, they would, want to do things for you. And they would trust that, if I commit this amount of work, if I give Gangi 100%, I know in return, he's going to have value for what it is that I'm providing. So again, without that trust, they don't feel value, and you're not going to get 100% from them. So I think that was a great point that Russ made. Hey, Russ, anything before we get to the next one? Any closing on that one?
Yeah, this is what we do. It's a partnership, and we can't have one without the other. We can't have a front line that doesn't have guidance provided to it. We rely on that. After all, you guys are supposed to be the ones, if you're up there as an administrator or a manager, you're the ones that are supposed to be bringing the training that we need to stay within the guidelines of the law, to stay within the guidelines of policy. The problem that comes often though is if you're writing crap policy, because we've told you what we need, we've told you how we need it, and we've told you what will keep the public safe, staff safe, and inmate safe, and you fail to provide that, then what you've done is just, you've been the one that asked for the divorce. And then those lines of communication, they go down, and then what do we expect? Can we expect a safe and secure institution or facility? Probably not.
Yeah, and guys, the trust does come where if I'm a leader or manager and I give out the trust does come by me allowing the front line to develop the how. And we'll get to that in a later thought, but I just wanted to piggyback off what Russ said. I'm going to go ahead and delegate the what. I explain to you the why, but you can figure out the how, and that kind of builds trust because you're letting your people know that, hey, I know you guys got me. I'm going to empower you to figure out how it needs to get done, and that matters. And we'll get to that. Actually, it's kind of like the backbone for all these. Actually, the you don't want to micromanage your people. So, having said that, giving them the what, but letting them figure out the how. Like pushing down the how really does matter. It kind of crosses into all these three little tidbits. The next thing is investment. I want to start off by saying this real quick. Corrections is evolving. I don't like saying the word change because I think people are afraid of change. It makes them question everything they did up to this point, where I think evolution kind of gives respect to everybody's participation and where we're at and where we are headed, knowing that we couldn't be here if it wasn't for whatever it was that happened before. So I like to take the word evolve. Now, investment's key to me because while we're going through this evolution, you want parties to feel that they're invested in what's happening, and they're not going to feel invested if you don't hear their voice and have them involved in what is happening. So again, if you have a what that has to come across and there's really no changing that, you have to get this out there, then it's good to let them tell you how they can carry it out. And I do want to say this when it comes to investment. When it comes to investment as management, and this is going to kind of, for management looking down real quick, just from my perspective, investment to me are people that are going above and beyond to try to make something happen, giving an exhausted effort. So when I know there's a no, it's coming on the back end of an exhausted effort. I don't like people that are being brought to the table because you want to get their investment and you want to get some upstream thinking. But the problem is they continue to be an obstacle instead of a resource in a world it's moving, guys. It's moving. It's moving. You got to understand that it's moving. This is where we're headed. So bringing you to the table and to get you to kind of share in on those thoughts matter. But the one thing that we don't want are people that are obstacles. Now, I've noticed in my dealings, when you get people that are invested, you trust in their effort, which means that eventually you trust in their no. And the reason why that matters is because if they're invested, they're trusted in the outcome. So of course they're invested in the outcome. So of course they're going to give you 100% effort because they're invested in the outcome. So of course they're going to be invested in the effort. Now, when I'm at the table and I hear people giving me millions of excuses of why something can't be done. Now, mind you, let's say it's something that has to be done, and they're giving me a million excuses as to why it can't be done. And me as management, I'm listening to it. Don't get me wrong, but I know it has to be done, but I'm still going to listen to it. Then what I do is I tell that person, hey, with all that said, how can you help me now make it happen? So I got you. We have all these concerns. So how are you going to help me now make this happen? And that kind of gives you the mindset of the individual. Are they really there to help you and be that resource? Because it's good to know what the problems are. I get it because I don't want to move forward blindly. But are you going to help me navigate through those problems? Or are you just using the problems as just another obstacle to stop us from moving where at this point we cannot stop? So again, investment matters because if you have people invested, they're invested in the outcome and therefore they're going to give you 100% effort. What's your thoughts on investment, Russ?
Exactly. You want the people that were at my level or at the officer level to buy into your vision. Now, we're not necessarily going to buy into each and every part of it. And there's some of it that, really doesn't necessarily affect us. We're willing to do the things that help you get there. But if you just think that, that we can be, cast away and we only count for the part of the vision that's important to you, then you're missing out on huge resources. The people that do this job day in and day out, we become very wise as to the things that will work, the things that will place people in danger, and the things that, are just absolutely not gonna, pan out in any way whatsoever. So, get us to buy into your vision and, give us the things that we need, give us the training and the tools and the equipment, and let us run with it. Let us see what we can do. And then there's another little part of this that I'll get back to when we get to the next little part of this that I want to circle back to.
Yeah, and Russ, I love when you said buy into the vision. Guys, in management, if you want people to be invested, they have to understand how their mission plays into the vision. You know, they do. You have to always remind them of their task significance, that what they do, again, goes back to having value. So investment is also allowing staff to understand what that bigger picture is. Because again, it also brings us together. You know, I did a class in Masca recently in Atlantic City, and me and Connie kind of just winged it. You know, it's just basically, we're at that point now. We've done, you know, shows so many times. It's like, just give us a topic. What do you want us to talk about for an hour and 15 minutes? We have no PowerPoint, no nothing. We just go ahead and discuss it. That's one of the benefits of doing this show, because whatever topic you have, you just tell us and we'll run the gamut. And it's like, oh, where do you get all the information from? We've done this 1,200 something times. I mean, you know, it's like, it's just natural to us. And one of the things we did was we put out a puzzle, and we did not allow the people that were attending to look at what the final picture was supposed to be. And it was like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. So they're small pieces. So when we brought the people up, they saw individual pieces, but they didn't know what they were building. So I said, well, picture this piece as you. You know, if you don't know how your piece relates to the other pieces, then how do you know what you're doing is effective or not? So as a good leader, my job is to show you that picture. Now, don't get me wrong. We had people trying to help this individual. They all came in, they rolled their sleeves up, and they were trying to build the puzzle because they wanted to help. But again, they can't, because they don't know what it is that they're building. So everybody goes into this isolated agenda, what they think the picture is. My job is to literally show them what that picture was, or, you know, and it was a bunch of balloons. But having said that, you know, it's connecting them to the bigger vision, but making sure that they know that they're responsible for that. And what happened out of here, by the way, is they didn't really know what they were building. And they were building these hot air balloons. You know, someone did get it right. So I think I'm building a hot air balloon. I said, okay, but, you know, what else do you see? Well, I don't know. I only got the hot air balloon. So again, not knowing how it related. But now, mind you, if they were building, let's say, the hot air balloon the whole time, but I never showed them that, but in their mind, they're building a train because they haven't seen the final picture. When I go to show them it's a hot air balloon, they're not going to believe me. They're going to be resistant. I haven't spent all my time building a hot air balloon. I've been building a train. No, you've been building a hot air balloon. Now, here's the sad thing about it all, too, guys. Whether they were building a train or a hot air balloon, they're the ones that are responsible for moving that picture forward. So now the problem is when I tell them it's a hot air balloon and it's no longer a train, they want out. Even though the whole time they've been building it, they've been making it better. But the problem is they had no idea what they were building. And then when you go to tell them this is where we're at, they become resistant because in their mind, it's changed. And it's like, no, it hasn't changed. It's evolved. It was one hot air balloon. Now it's 10. It's like, yeah, but you should have told me that sooner. So again, I try to embrace the word evolution in that, because I don't want people to think that whatever picture they've been working on for the past, you know, in their career has completely changed. It's actually evolving from that picture. But again, it's our job to show that picture, to get them to buy into the investment so they can know exactly how their piece in the puzzle fits in relationship to the vision. I think that's spot on. Hey, Russ, the last one here is innovation. I think this is something that gets overlooked by management, because I believe that management or higher upper echelon believes that the change that's happening, I like to use the word evolution, but let me just bring it back to a more common phrase right now, change. But they believe the change is pretty much drawn from the top down, and I disagree with that. I don't believe that change is from the top down. I believe the evolution of where we're headed comes from the bottom up. What's your thoughts on that, Russ?
Well, you know, when you just look at you know, who's in the best position to accurately accurately assess what will and will not work, it's the people down there on the line. It's the guys in the front trenches, you know, that are doing the actual work. And then, you know, to decide that, you know, we are going to by fiat run this whole prison. You know, that's a really, really bad paradigm to be going after, because all you're going to do is you are going to cut off and you're going to stifle innovation. When I look at that word innovation, and I think about, we did a show quite a while back now, and we were talking about, sometimes in policy, we talk about, whether you're supposed to go in there and save the officer that's being attacked, or do the proper thing and wait for backup. Because you can't take the keys in there, or whatever it is, whatever they've designed for us. And so what they do is they give us this, binary solution that you can only make two bad decisions, right? Instead of giving us 4 or 5 good decisions and thinking through things and deciding that, hey, we can find a way to help this officer that's still in there. Maybe we have some kind of, crash device or safe that we can throw the keys in so you can respond, and that other response is on the way. Or that, maybe we have a way to get to 40 millimeter that's in a locked locker, so we can go in there and, start busting caps on people if necessary. But whatever it is, we can innovate and find better ways to do things than simply be dictated to. Here's your 2 solutions, and one of them you can't pick because it's out of policy. So you leave me with one bad decision to make? No, come on, people. The guys and gals that do this job have so many ideas about, how we can run things not only more efficiently, but with greater safety for the public, greater safety for staff, and greater safety for the inmates. And when you hit that, that trifecta of things, then that you're a true corrections professional, not merely providing for, one of them's good enough.
Yeah, and guys, that's why in corrections, because the type of the work we do, you got to have the frontline empowered. How do you empower them? Is you got to let them handle the how. I mean, there's really no ifs and buts about it. If something's got to get carried out, I get it. You got to delegate the what, but they got to be able to handle the how. And the reason why is, besides the fact that it's empowering, that's where innovation is going to come from. If you're going to sit there and micromanage everything they do, then they're not even going to make the effort to find ways to be innovative. Because I do agree that, change may come from above, but innovation and evolution comes from the ground up. So I think evolution, if we're all on the same page, that can actually have more weight pushing up than this change that's coming down. I do believe that evolution is key. And I think when it comes to letting staff at the front line, really run that day to day and really get an understanding of what works best. Because remember, guys, they should be invested in what works best, because they're in corrections. This is their survival. So if you have staff that's on the front line that doesn't want to be innovative and doesn't want to be resourceful, then that staff's easily going to get picked out 100%, because trust and believe, inmates are constantly being innovative and constantly being resourceful. So, the staff that survive in this profession are the staff that are enabled to be innovative, empowered to be resourceful. And the last thing you want is to have staff that has that potential to be micromanaged by a manager who doesn't allow that to exist. Because I like what Russ said here before, is that could be, besides the fact that you're going to lose effective people who could really have a great impact on this profession, maybe that could be a little bit dangerous too. Because if they're getting micromanaged from a person who sits up high, who really doesn't know what it's like to be on that floor every day. I mean, yeah, you can walk around, but you really don't know the details of that job. I mean, these are the knowledge experts, and you decide to push your agenda down without listening to what they have to say. And then eventually they just say, you know what? They're not listening, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. You wind up having a facility that's not running at the best it could be. And by the way, guys, facilities, just like a person, they have to make the intentional to grow every day. We should always be looking to do something better every day. And the point of innovation has to come from that front line, meeting the expectations of the job, but then also making the attempt to excel past that. I think that's the key. It's like, yes, I'm going to meet the expectations, but I'm also going to try every day to excel. And the good thing about this all, guys, is that every day they do something on the front line, something could happen that can give them knowledge to do something a little bit different the next time. So again, if you're just always going back to that status quo, then you're putting a lid on the whole evolution of where we're at from the bottom up, and literally a lid on how effective we could be if we would allow our front line to handle the how of what has to be done. Russ, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just agree 100%. And that's the way that the administrators and the managers really need to look at this thing, is that they are not in enough contact. They don't have enough surface area down there on the front line to really see how little things can impact us, how changing around a few responsibilities can sometimes destroy our ability to say feed breakfast or whatever. So, it's before you decide on an edict, maybe you should instead, hand it out to them, plan. Hey, this is what we need to do. We need you guys to write a plan, write a policy, write a procedure in order to implement this, and a way to figure out how it has the least impact on the rest of the programming or whatever is going on in that moment and that time. So, you can, if instead of, finding those edicts and shoveling them down, give them, the reins and tell them to develop this. And, maybe you'll be surprised at how much better they can do, because they're down there every day. They see all the moving parts. They know, when Mercury is in retrograde and, it's the age of Aquarius or whatever on the yard. So that's my 2 cents.
And guys, I think maybe me and Russ later this week will do a show on 3 quick reasons why frontline needs to listen to management, just to be balanced. I would like to think that as we do these dialogues, the one thing I want us to move away from is the me culture. I want to get us to start moving towards the us culture, and I want us to start moving towards effort over outcome. So literally commitment over promises. I really think that's going to be able to really bring us more together, because in the end, if we're just outcome driven and it's me, managers that want to do the right thing, if they're not in charge of the outcome, all they could do is make the effort. And while they're trying to work on us and you're trying to work on me, there's going to be a conflict. And the problem is the good managers, when their effort's not appreciated, they stop trying. And that can go both ways too, but I think what I would like to do is shift that dialogue later in the week with management, and why we need to also listen to them. Because again, as much as we want to push dialogue down, we also need to push it up as well, because again, it's about building a bridge. We're all evolving, and I don't want us to be separated, all because we have a position and we may have a dislike for someone in that position. That doesn't mean that the whole position should have this generalized animosity towards it. I disagree with that. I believe if you have a problem with someone, that's a problem with one person. That doesn't mean they make up that whole department, or that problem could be a simple misunderstanding of perspective. So let's sit down and discuss it, because sometimes you may not see how I see things. And, is that my fault if I don't express it? Or if I am expressing it and you don't want to hear it, is that your fault? Again, we have to grow up, because in the long run this is going to be 25 years of your career for most of us, 25 years of your life. I mean, do you want to wake up, venting and not do nothing? I mean, literally, I just want to vent and always have a reason to complain, and that recreational gossip or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, guys, 25 years of your life has just passed, and what have you done? Or, do you want to hear it and do what we do? Put a venue up. And let's say, hey, you know what? I got these people arguing. Let's just bring everybody to the table. Let's say what the concern is, and let's try to solve it. Because in the end, I want to enjoy my time at work. Is that crazy? I want to enjoy my time working in corrections. Why not, right? I want to be healthy. I want to have a good mind. So I want to enjoy what I do. And I want to really embrace family. And family doesn't just mean the people to the left and right of you. Family means everybody, all around. And again, that's going to come from top down and bottom up. Hey, Russ, do you have anything you would like to say in closing, sir? Russ, you really do look like a Chuck Norris. I'm looking at it right now. No, you do. You look like a Chuck Norris. You know, I'm really starting to see it now. Everybody says it, and I see it.
I don't know. I carry that with me around everywhere. I don't see it. I don't see it either. But it is my hope that someday I'm going to hear about someone walking up to Chuck Norris and saying, "Hey, Russ, how you been?" But probably not going to happen.
That could happen. I mean, I usually get.
I would pay someone to do it, but
I usually get Danny DeVito. You know, so yeah, it's what I got. You know, it's all I got, man. Hey, Russ, what do you like to say in closing?
So, you know, your point that you made before is, you know, is well taken. There's some people, for whatever reason in this business, that because they can't fix everything, they decide that they're not going to fix anything. And, you know, we have to be pragmatists, you know, to a degree. Yeah, I would like to fix everything, but I know that that's not going to happen on my watch. And if it ever does happen, it's going to be under some circumstances that I couldn't possibly comprehend. So, doing my part, the way that I viewed myself is there are some things that I can solve, or if not solve, at least I can impact. And so for me, it was safety and security. You know, for some others, you know, it might be, you know, writing policy, or it might be, you know, facilitating the communication between admin and the front line. Whatever it is, there are problems that we can solve. So let's focus on those. But the negative Nancys who just decide that the only thing that can be done is to bitch about things, which solves nothing, is not the way to go. Because all that does is that creates more animosity, and then we just end up with a profession and a career that we don't like, and we don't want to be there. I liked my career. You know, did I do some bitching and stuff about it? Sure, I did. But most days it was about, you know, how can I be more effective? How can I make a bust today? How can we make sure that we do this feeding safe? Because we've got some significant issues on this yard amongst some of the STGs. And so I look to be that impact player and to solve my little part of the puzzle that I could, you know. So if everyone would get out there and try and solve their little part, yeah, we won't solve everything, but we'll solve a lot.
Yeah, I think the question is, you know, not so much what the department can do for you you know, sometimes it's what you can do for the different departments, you know, like, you know, it's, well, what are they doing for me? It's like, no, what are we doing for each other? I think we have to be very careful of those me words, those I words. I think we got to start looking towards us and we, and I think the inmates need to see that. I think the inmates need to see us using words like us and we when it comes to the other professional staff that's surrounded by us. Because I think when the inmates play their game, they look for isolated words. They look for the I words. They look for the me words, and they know, okay, this person's on an island. But if you come out, you know, and we're all together, and it's like, hey, if you're talking to social services, and, you know, if the inmate's talking to social services, and social services, you know, literally looks at a custody member and says, well, we decided to do this, or we're doing this together. That's us. You know, all of a sudden those unity words matter, because the inmate, if you're looking to manipulate, it's harder to now really divide, because those partnership words are strong. Remember, guys, partnership words carry a lot of weight. When an inmate starts to see you separating from staff, all of a sudden they become your we. They become your us. And it's like, ooh, don't want that. I'd rather, you know, be connected to Russ. You know, that's the we. Me and Russ is a we. Me and Russ is a us. So again, you know, I believe that it does bring some level of unity, and that comes through communication. So again, it's just a start. You know, in our efforts, really just a kind of like always trying to, you know, bring back some level of understanding, communication, to try to get us to work, you know, together as a family. And guys, before I close, I want to mention something. I'm not trying to get us to work together just because the job says we have to. I want to get us to work together because we need to, because we want to be a family. You know, I really think the family behind the wall is what keeps people in this profession. You know, it's what keeps people motivated to run to the codes and to go to work and be isolated and divided. I think it just makes it a lot harder for people to want to stay in this profession. And guys, families have issues. We all know that, you know, but just be careful when you generalize your feelings outward, because it winds up to be very divisive. And next thing you know, if there's no counter influence, this recreational gossiping or recreational, I'm just venting and just pissed off because admin did this or frontline did this, it winds up becoming very, very divisive because people start believing into those negative generalizations because there's no counter influence to it. Like, I mean, I know one thing real quick is if someone's bad mouthing, let's say admin, or someone's bad mouthing the front line, just generally, just because maybe one person pissed them off and they're going to generalize it out, you got to go in there and you got to counter influence that immediately, because that's going to be a cancer. And next thing you know, within a couple of days, there's just this divide. And by the way, no one says anything. They just let the divide exist. And the people that observe it are the inmates. And then all of a sudden, when we're all divided, the inmates know exactly where to play out. And trust and believe, guys, if management cuts off the front line, or front line decides not to talk to management, that gives inmates multiple ways to divide and play their game and shop for staff. Well, you know, like, I would love for an inmate to see that front line, when they say something, management listens. So if Russ is reasonable with his no, it doesn't matter if I go to a supervisor or not, because they're listening to Russ, and vice versa. You know, vice versa. Like, when I walk into a unit as management, I let the inmates know that Russ is running the house. Even though I'm here, it's still Russ's house. So everything goes right back to Russ and giving him that respect. So you're not going to use me as some pawn. I'm management. I have a job to do. I get what my job is. But the one thing that my job isn't is being a pawn for you. So, okay, you didn't get what you wanted from this officer. Now I come down here. Now I become your pawn. Like, no, you know, you're using my position of authority to negatively influence one of my best workers. You know, so yeah, you know, again, that communication, I think, it matters. And let the inmates, they don't have to hear it, but let them see it. Let them see that we're working together. As always, guys, the show is Tier Talk. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.